Good afternoon. I hope things are going well for you on this Wednesday. The time now is 12:30. I'm Julie Broughton. This is News 6 Extra. Thank you so much for hanging around and getting all caught up on your news and weather headlines this afternoon. Already, we are seeing our East Coast sea breeze beginning to set up, and showers and storms again today will be widespread. We'll time that out for you, talk about who has the best chance of seeing some stronger storms later today, and we'll take a look ahead to your Father's Day weekend. All that's coming up in just a few minutes. But first, to the very latest on Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez, who this afternoon remains in the Lake County Jail, and now a co-defendant in the racketeering case against Lopez is also behind bars. News 6's Angie Quesada is in Lake County and has the very latest on this case.
Sheldon Weatherholt went before a judge today, his bond set at $100,000. He's the third co-defendant to be arrested in this high-profile racketeering case, booked here at the Lake County Jail where he remains. The judge set 58-year-old Sheldon Weatherholt's bond at $50,000 for each of his two charges. He's charged with racketeering and allegedly helping operate an illegal gaming enterprise. He'll also be required to wear a GPS monitor and forfeit all firearms if released. Weatherholt turned himself in to authorities late Tuesday night. In court, he told the judge he was making just $19,000 a year before being fired Friday. He also added he's the sole caregiver for his two disabled adult sons.
Both of my sons, they are adults. They are bipolar and paranoid schizophrenic, and I do take care of both of them.
The state acknowledged Weatherholt has no prior criminal history, but prosecutors argued this case involves a criminal enterprise using business licenses, illegal gaming, and coordination between multiple defendants.
Mr. Weatherholt's involvement consists of establishing LLCs and engaging in business with one of the other co-defendants and co-conspirators.
The arrest comes less than a week after suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez was taken into custody. He's facing the same charges, and just like Weatherholt, he's still locked up here in Lake County on a $1 million bond. Lopez's attorney argues his client is being treated unfairly because of his former position. Meanwhile, Osceola's new sheriff, Chris Blackman, spoke with News 6 and said he's reviewed the case himself.
He wasn't targeted. I can tell you I've read the report, and not because I took over in his position. I'm disgusted by what I read. This report is extremely lengthy. I can't go into it because it's still under investigation, but when that becomes a public record and it's viewable for everybody, I challenge you to sit down and read it.
Weatherholt's next court date is set for July 7th. As for Marcos Lopez, no word yet when he'll bond out. Of course, we'll keep you updated as we learn more on air and over on clickorlando.com. Reporting in Lake County, Angie Quesada, News 6.
This week marks 9 years since the deadly mass shooting at Pulse nightclub that claimed 49 lives. And for the first time since that night, families and survivors will be allowed back inside the building. News 6's Mark Lehman joins us now from Pulse with what these survivors and families can expect.
It's going to be a very difficult journey for a lot of people. Survivors are returning to this building for the first time since they were sent running for their lives, and some family members will be able to see the exact spot where their loved ones took their last breath. That includes one mother we spoke with, and she told us about what she's doing to prepare for the visit.
Of course I want to go see it. I want to see the inside.
Christine Leinen lost her son Christopher in the Pulse shooting in 2016. After carrying the pain for 9 years, she says this year is especially important as she'll be able to walk through the former nightclub for the first time.
My son didn't die running out of the building or die at the hospital. My son literally died on that dance floor.
Leinen will join other family members of victims and survivors as the city of Orlando is giving private visits to the site of the massacre starting today. About 250 have signed on to go inside over the next 4 days. That includes family representing 25 of the 49 people killed.
There's going to be a lot of sadness, I'm sure. Well, maybe I'll feel nothing. Maybe I'll go through there and I'll just feel nothing at all.
With Orlando taking ownership of the property, the city is giving family and survivors this opportunity before the building is removed later this year for a permanent Pulse memorial. FBI officials will be on hand to answer families' questions while also giving them a chance to remember, reflect, and heal.
I want to feel like where he was when he took his last breath.
The city has coordinated this with privacy being a top priority. Survivors and family members will be shuttled from a nearby hotel and they will go through this tent inside the building where they'll be able to stay inside for up to 30 minutes. The first visits begin at 3 this afternoon and run through Saturday. For now, reporting in Orlando, Mark Lehman, News 6.
President Donald Trump is doubling down on his decision to send the military into Los Angeles in response to protests against immigration enforcement. At the same time, he is warning against protests this weekend for the military parade planned in Washington, D.C. CBS's Natalie Brand reports critics fear the president is politicizing the military.
President Trump is defending his decision to deploy the National Guard and Marines to Los Angeles in response to protests over ICE raids.
It can only go right by having the military. It de-escalates. I mean, that was the only way.
The administration says the troops are providing protection for federal law enforcement and federal buildings.
Law enforcement, they need to have their hands untied where they can do their jobs.
Under federal law, active duty military cannot be used for domestic law enforcement purposes unless the president invokes the Insurrection Act. So far, he has not done that.
We're hoping it's going to get under control. We hope the curfew will work, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to keep California safe.
With protests popping up in more cities and more demonstrations planned for this weekend, coinciding with a military parade in Washington, D.C. for the Army's 250th birthday, President Trump had this warning.
For those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force.
This is really authoritarian.
Former Republican Senator Chuck Hagel, who also served as defense secretary in the Obama administration, is concerned about politicizing the military.
That's what our senior officers are worried about and will continue to worry about as to how the president further intends to use the military against American citizens.
President Trump also announced at Fort Bragg Tuesday he is restoring the names of 7 Army bases originally named for Confederate military figures. Congress had ordered those name changes, which were completed under President Biden. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
We are going to take a short break, and when we get back, we will check out your forecast, including a look ahead to your Father's Day weekend in case you have outdoor plans. And we'll also talk about our showers and thunderstorms this afternoon, who has the best chance of seeing some stronger storms as we time all that out for you hour by hour. Stay with us. We're back in about 2 minutes. Welcome back to News 6 Extra. The time now is 12:39. I'm Julie Broughton. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this afternoon. We will time out today's showers and storms. Check out your forecast for you in just a few minutes. But first, we're heading now to Lake Nona, where construction over the last few years has continued to infringe upon areas where habitats where wild hogs live. And so as the population of the wild hogs has gone up, so have problems for people living in this neighborhood. In fact, some neighbors say that they are hesitant to even take a walk in their own neighborhood. News 6 anchor Matt Austin comes to us now live from Story Park.
When Stephanie Jones takes a stroll around Story Park, her Lake Nona neighborhood, children's stories really come to life.
Like this little piggy went to Story Park. This little piggy stayed home.
But this is no fairy tale. Stephanie now carries pepper spray on her daily walks because these little piggies have been invading the neighborhood.
We've worked hard to be homeowners. We worked hard to be parents, and my number one goal is his safety. We like to go on walks in the stroller every day, and we can't because they're coming out during the daytime and they're chasing people.
The Story Park Facebook page is filled with these videos, packed of wild pigs ravaging the green spaces. The neighborhood park looks like the big bad wolf got a hold of it.
We count about 20 hogs. The hogs it's a big family.
Neighbors like Christian Rosa organized, even calling out a trapper while we were there.
I just talked to a mom who has a baby, and she's worried that these things could be dangerous to her. Is that possible?
Absolutely. So with hogs, especially if they have a lot of juveniles, the females can be very aggressive. If she thinks that you're being aggressive towards her young, then yeah, she absolutely could attack.
So what is the HOA telling you when you ask them, hey, we have this problem we need you to fix?
So the latest that we had is they're telling us to deal with it, basically.
So we went to the neighborhood office and spoke with General Manager Rebecca Black.
They're destroying homeowners' properties, and HOAs are not responsible to maintain private properties. So they think that we can fix all their issues with the hogs, but we can't because there's really nothing we can do about it.
The HOA says it's called out the USDA twice to catch hogs. They caught between 20 and 30, but the problem persists. Black also says the HOA doesn't have room in the budget to spend money on the issue.
So for the people out there upset, there's dozens of residents.
I know,
and I'm sure you've heard from all of them.
Yeah, yes, I have.
What do you want to tell them?
I really, if somebody wants to form let's say a committee to figure out what to do next, like 5 of them come, let's sit down, let's brainstorm and figure out a solution, I'd be willing to do that.
But a lot of them would say, the HOA is my committee.
You take care of it. Yeah, I get that. If they have a solution, great. They can hire a trapper.
But it's not that simple. On this day, the trapper found 2 separate hog families are doing the damage. This will require 2 big traps and surveillance cameras. The solution would cost thousands, a bill neighbors like Stephanie worry they will be left paying.
It would have been nice that they could have dispersed our funds in a way that this could have been handled maybe 2 years ago when it started, and it wouldn't have been as big of a problem now.
Yeah. In Lake Nona, I'm Matt Austin, News 6.
That is one of the cutest babies I've ever seen. Just have to throw that out there. New inflation data came out today. News 6 anchor Crystal Moyer spoke with CBS business analyst Jill Schlesinger about what that means for you.
The government released its monthly report on inflation this morning, known as the Consumer Price Index. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to break down the numbers. And Jill, you're talking about it being boring this time around.
Kind of boring, and boring is beautiful when it comes to the economy. The inflation rate, it accelerated just slightly in May from April, not a big number. And that means that the inflation rate for the last 12 months came in at 2.4%. So prices increased by 2.4% from a year earlier. That's up just 0.1% from the previous month. So again, nothing big here. The core rate, that's the one that removes food and energy, up 2.8% from a year ago. Core prices have actually remained pretty stable. We've seen energy prices come down over the year, food prices rise, shelter prices kind of moderating some. So it's a very benign report, this current report.
And with tariffs remaining at lower levels since the initial announcement, what's the overall feeling about prices?
You know, it's funny, the Federal Reserve loves this survey. It's the survey of consumer expectations. They say, how you feeling about the job and the economy? And they ask very specific questions about inflation and the inflation rate. And the response this time was a little less of "I fear inflation." That would be the through line here. So regardless of age, education, or income, people feel like inflation is going to rise over the next 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, but not as bad as they thought it would when we had that first announcement from the Rose Garden on April 2nd. So I think people are kind of getting used to the fact that prices will go up, but then they will probably not see a big surge in inflation like the summer of 2022.
Okay. And Jill, given where we are right now with tariffs, what does the whole picture look like in terms of inflation for the rest of the year?
Well, let's presume that we have a universal 10% tariff on all of our trading partners and something like 30% for China, and that's maintained for the whole year. If that's the case, the expectation is that that core inflation rate, the one that I said has been kind of boring for the last few months at 2.8%, it'll probably rise closer to 3.5% by the end of the year. And, listen, energy prices are very tough to predict, but food prices, according to the USDA, not expected to rise by that much, increase by maybe 2.9% this year. And that's the historic average rate of growth for food. So I think that we should prepare for somewhat higher prices, not so big surge overall, but if you're going to buy an item that is subject to a tariff, you're going to pay a higher price.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jill. And remember, you can see Jill regularly on CBS Mornings and the CBS Evening News.
It's time to get a check of your forecast now, and already our East Coast sea breeze is setting up for us, and that is pushing inland, bringing us some showers and thunderstorms. So going a little bit closer for you on the radar again, where you can see some areas of rain. Now, as we take you through the afternoon hours, that East Coast sea breeze will continue moving inland. Here's how it looks at 5 o'clock. Notice at that time the West Coast sea breeze sets up as well. Now, right down the turnpike from around downtown Orlando down into areas like Hullapaw, Kenansville, Deer Park, you'll see some heavy rain and the potential of some strong storms around 5 o'clock. The sea breeze collision today will happen a little bit farther west than it has the last few days. So that means areas like Lake, Marion, and Sumter counties, you have the best chance of seeing some of those stronger storms later this afternoon. We could again be talking about some gusty winds, a lot of lightning, even some small hail. And because the storm movement today will be rather slow and erratic, you could pick up some hefty rainfall totals, which means we could see some localized flooding or ponding of water on roadways before all of this clears out of here well before midnight. Now, right now, we are sitting at 77 in Daytona Beach, where you're getting some rain right now. It's 82 in Cape Canaveral, 85 in Orlando, and 91 in the Villages. Here's how it actually feels right now. The areas where we're seeing a little bit more sunshine and where you haven't seen any rain yet, like Ocala and the Villages, it feels like the low 100s for you. We'll go to a high today, generally in the normal range, a few degrees warmer than normal for some of us. 92 in Orlando. Normal high this time of year is 91. We go to 93 in the Villages. 7-day forecast keeping rain chances both today and tomorrow at 60% before we begin to trim it back a little bit heading into the weekend. Your Father's Day on Sunday, expect those afternoon storms with rain chances at 40%. Highs stay in the low 90s every single afternoon with morning lows in the mid to upper 70s. And we'll, of course, break down your full forecast and take a look at the tropics. All of this in much greater detail for you coming up on News 6 starting at 4. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We do appreciate it. I hope you have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you at 4.